Hello everyone, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. I'm Jen, I'm back, and I'm going to show you how to make an axe sitting in a stump of wood right there like you see. And if you find this helpful, please like, please subscribe because I find that helpful, and then we'd be even. You see how that works? Alright, I'm working with just a basic couple colors. This is like a very light creamy color. It kind of looks like a scallop color, and you're going to make it into kind of a scallop shape. I'm going to make a very small axe. The person only wanted it to be about 3 inches big, so this is a smaller size. You can make it whatever size you want. So as I said, just make yourself a nice little scallop shape out of the cream. And what I'm doing is I'm pinching the edges here at the top all around it to make it a sharper edge so it's not rounder. And when I add the bark, which is what I'm going to do here in a minute, it'll line up a lot better. So once you get your nice pinched off little scallop, put that aside, roll out your brown as I'm doing here into a long strip. It doesn't matter how nice and neat it is, but try to make the thickness as even as you can. It just looks a little better that way. And then measure it out. I'm going to make sure that it goes all the way around without any problems at all. Once the length is right, then sharpen off one edge, sharpen off the bottom so it's nice and flat there. And then wrap it around again. I guess if you're very clever, you could, measure everything out the first time, but I don't do it that way. I just kind of go on the fly. So as you can see, I just marked where the edge would be. And I'm going to do the same thing. Wrap it around one more time because you can never do it too many times. And then I'm going to make sure that the top of the brown comes a little bit past the top of the yellow or the beige in the middle there. So now I've got my nice little rectangle, and I'm taking the top and kind of roughing it up, little chop, chop, chops. It's going to be bark wrapped around the stump, and the little rough pieces are going to be where the bark has kind of come up beyond it and peeled a little bit and starting to flake. You know what I mean, just that quintessential working on my stump kind of look you got going there. Alright, so once you get that in place, a little bit of water to push everything down. And that edge that we had pinched up before is going to now blend in much better to the side of the bark that you just added, and it will make it look so much better. Now what I'm doing here with the knife is I'm just roughing up the sides. I'm just pressing marks into it, chop, 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 chop. And I did it over and over and over again, and it was seriously like 5 literal minutes that I cut out here, so you're welcome for that. I'm taking the knife and roughing up the top, chop, 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 chop. And then I'm going to go and put some rough marks onto the top of it right there, so it looks like the axe has been hitting against it a bunch of times. And once again, more on the side. You really can't rough up the side too much, just make sure you don't cut too deeply and go all the way through. But gum paste can be kind of tricky sometimes when it's real fresh, like I had just mixed these colors. It pushes out the dents that I made, so you have to go kind of deep to make sure that they stay. So I press them in, I'm doing upward slices. Some of them I press really hard, make them uneven, and you can kind of see how it's looking now. Yeah, you can see it. And some of those, the sides of the bark at the top there, I'm cutting some deep ones. I'm starting to pull some out, bend them this way and that, and just kind of, just really bark it up. Now I'm adding a little bit of water. Everything's in place. Everything looks good. So I'm doing water around the top edge just to make sure that edge we pinch stays nice and tight to the bark so it doesn't come off and look weird. I'm going to take my circles, and my circles I have a bunch of different sizes because I found this awesome set at a yard sale. It was the best find ever. And I'm going to start making the rings in the stump. I'm just pressing them in, twisting them around, doing smaller and smaller concentric circles. Look at me and my big words there, huh? And once you get the circles in, take those cutters again and go over them again. I just used a straw there just to make the little small piece in the center. Then here you go. I'm just kind of putting more marks in, just little semicircles, just little lines now, because the circles aren't going to be all perfect and it's not going to fill it in all the way. So the more lines you have filling in, the better it kind of looks. And don't worry about the sides gushing out there because you're just going to push it right back in again. No more waddly scallop look for us. So just keep adding the circles and the lines until you like how it looks, until you feel like it's done. Alright, now I've got my edible food coloring markers, and I'm just highlighting some of the lines I made, and some of them I didn't even make, I'm just highlighting anyway. I'm just making lines and rings in the circles in the center of the stump there. And I'm just going over and over again and again and again and fill it in. Not all the way, but just like that. And now what I'm doing is I took a paintbrush. I got it a little bit wet with water. It's not soppy or anything, but now I'm just kind of brushing it around. I'm kind of blending in the marker by doing that a little bit, so it's not quite the sharp lines that it was. All right, same thing here. I'm putting line, line, line with my brown edible food coloring marker again. And I got these at Walmart. They have them. You could even get them online. The AC Moore, those places have them. You're going to pay too much, so don't get them from there. You didn't hear me say that. Anyway, so keep adding those lines. You really can't add too much because it's all going to blend together pretty soon, and you'll see. So don't worry about it looking all weird. Now I'm using black, and I'm doing the same thing. More lines, more lines. And because the gum paste is pretty fresh, it's still a little moist, for lack of a better word. And it's not going to make as sharp lines. For some reason, the food coloring markers kind of gloss over it a little bit, but that's okay. So it'll just kind of blend it all in together. And I'm going to do the same thing to the top, just more of those faint lines. Gonna say I probably need a new marker too, because those are pretty faint. I was having a hard time with this. Alright, and don't worry if you go a little heavy-handed on it. Just take the paintbrush like I did before with the water, and we'll take care of that, so don't worry. Alright, that's an 8-inch lollipop stick. You can get them at a craft store, get them at Walmart, all over the place. And I just bent it in half. That's going to be the outline for the axe that we're going to make next. This is going to be the head of the axe. I just took some gray, shaped it like a rounded off triangle, and ran it through the bottom of the the lollipop stick. Slide it up, just twist it gently, slide it up. It's going to lose its shape a little bit, that's okay. And then stick it through the stump, just like it was sitting before. Once it's in the stump, you can line it up to where it should properly sit, like trim the stick if it's too long, and then pinch off the bottom of it so it looks more like a sharpened axe blade. You can't go too thin because the stick is in there, but do the best you can and it'll look fine. This is an edible silver shimmer. I'm going to add it to the axe blade to make it look more metallic. I'm mixing it with a little bit of water. I've heard people use vodka or other kinds of alcohol. I don't know. I just use water. It seems to work for me, and it saves me the expense having to go buy vodka. Okay, now taking a paintbrush, just paint it on, and this takes a little work. You want it to get on there kind of thick, but not so thick that it gets clumpy. It's not the easiest thing in the world to work with, I'll be honest with you, but you'll get the hang of it. And you're going to realize if you go over the same spot too many times, you're going to end up brushing what you have on there off. So like I said, it's going to take some getting used to, but you can do it. I believe in you. So just gently brush it over till you have a nice even shine, like that. La la. Sparkle, sparkle. Okay, this is going to be the handle for the axe. Once again, I'm just using brown. I like my brown. So roll it out thin. I'm using a fondant spreader. I use that thing all the time for gum paste. It is amazing to use. It's great. Alright, so once you get the thickness, pretty decent, slide it on down that stick. It's going to have to go right up to the edge of the handle, or excuse me, the hatchet part of it. And it's going to be thick and it's going to be lumpy, and this is where, once again, I cut out a lot of editing. It's just me. I'm pinching it off, and I'm kind of pinching on one side and pulling it off to the other side of the stick, if you can understand what I'm saying. So that way you have all the excess gum paste on the one side, and it's just a little bit thicker than the actual lollipop stick itself. And then I can use a knife, as I'm doing here, and trim off all the extra on the one side. And once again, the magic of editing, you smooth, you rub, you pinch, you cut, you trim until you get a nice thin handle. I left the end a little bit wider and flattened it just to kind of give it that wooden edge like they have. And yeah, so that looks pretty good. Now all I'm doing here is I use a little water to connect between the handle and the axe head itself. I'm using that little pressing tool thing just to kind of press them together so they come together better. And you don't want them to accidentally come apart because that just will not look right. Alright, so there you go. Now we're going to add some more detail because, yeah, devil's in the details, right? Okay, once again, taking that knife blade. And this is just like a kitchen knife that I had, a paring knife or something that I love, love, love for using it with gum paste. And all I'm doing is very carefully putting pressure marks on the whole length of it. I'm not doing the little ones as much. I'm trying to do more straight lines all the way up and down the handle. and I'm trying to get it all around the sides, and I can't really see it, but trust me, they're there. So once again, busting out the brown, and I'm just adding some coloring. I'm going over the lines back and forth. This is going to give it, you know, more of the wood look, the grains and the knots and that kind of thing. Although there shouldn't be knots in a handle unless you have a really junky one, I guess. Anyway, so yes, that's it. Once again, doing the brown. As you can see, it doesn't, because again, the gum paste is pretty fresh, it doesn't all stick. So I'm just kind of laying the marker on its side and just rubbing it up and down like that. No jokes out there, please. Okay. And a little circle on the end. And I'm going to also get out the black. No. Okay, that's not what I did. This is brown food coloring that I took. I'm mixing it with a little bit of water, and now I'm going to start adding some more details to it. I'm adding lines up and down, but then that didn't work, so ignore that part. What I ended up doing here is this. I just took the brown and started basically whitewashing or brownwashing over the bark on the outside. I just went up, 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 all around the outside, and it really came out looking pretty good, I gotta say. Like, check that out. How good is that, right? And then I ended up doing the same thing to the stump part itself. It's just a little bit of brown, you know, not too heavy on it. And again, if you go too dark, just add a little more water, get that paper towel, wipe it off, it'll be fine. But it just really cleans up the look a lot. For the axe handle, I didn't want to do brown. I wanted it to stand out a little more. So I'm using copper-colored food coloring for this. Once again, Walmart's my hero, and that's where I get all my food colorings. A little bit of water to mix it in to make basically a water paint, and then just paint over it. And again, I chose the copper just because it gives it a little more of a reddish tint to it, and it doesn't look exactly the same as the Stump's brown bark color. There you go. Now you can see it's all painted in. And because it's just very lightly done over it, it doesn't take away the marks from the food coloring marking, so you can still see those grains and everything that we drew in there. And it comes out really nice. Once it's dry, it looks great. So there you go. I hope this was helpful, and please like and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Until next time, bye!